Brace yourself. Cybercriminals are now wielding new tools that can defeat the very security features we count on to keep our computers safe. A new form of ransomware, HybridPetya, has burst onto the scene, and it's grabbing attention not just for its destructive power, but for its ability to outsmart one of the most critical PC defenses, UEFI Secure Boot. But here's where it gets controversial. Could this be the start of a trend, or just a proof-of-concept flex from hackers? Let's break it down. HybridPetya has been discovered by cybersecurity experts as a hybrid descendant of the infamous Petya and NotPetya ransomware families. What sets it apart from its predecessors? It's capable of slipping past secure boot protection in systems using modern UEFI firmware, a layer intended to block unauthorized code from running during the startup process. To accomplish this, HybridPetya exploits a vulnerability known as CVE 2024-7344, which, although recently patched, highlights just how quickly the threat landscape evolves. According to Slovakian security company ESET, samples of HybridPetya first appeared on VirusTotal in February 2025. The malware's primary attack method involves encrypting the master file table MFT found in NTFS file systems. If you're new to this, think of the MFT as the master directory that contains key information about every file stored on the drive. Render this unusable, and your data is effectively held hostage. But HybridPetya takes a modern twist. Unlike the earlier Petya, or NotPetya, which primarily targeted older BIOS-based systems, HybridPetya invades UEFI-based setups by planting a malicious EFI application directly on the EFI system partition, ESP. This application becomes the hub for encrypting the crucial MFT, undermining trust at the firmware level. Let's look at how HybridPetya operates. It comes with two central parts, an installer and a bootkit. Interestingly, the bootkit exists in two different forms, and it's the engine that controls the attack. Once deployed, it assesses the system's state based on three parameters. 0. Ready to start encryption. 1. Disk has been encrypted. 2. Ransom paid. Process reversed. If the system is primed for attack, state 0, the bootkit modifies the flag, begins encryption using the Salsa 20 algorithm, and specifically targets the EFI Microsoft Boot Verify file using a confidential key and nonce. Before beginning encryption on all NTFS partitions, it creates a tracking file named EFI Microsoft Boot Counter on the ESP to monitor the encryption progress of disk clusters. And here's the part most people miss. To keep the user in the dark, HybridPetya displays a fake CHKDSK message, pretending the system is merely correcting disk errors, when in reality, it's locking up the data. Once the encryption is complete, the bootkit shifts to ransom mode. Instead of the silent destruction NotPetya was known for, HybridPetya pauses to extort its victim, displaying a message demanding $1,000 in Bitcoin to a designated wallet. While the wallet is currently empty, records show it was previously sent over $180 earlier in the year, a chilling sign that someone, somewhere, is paying up. Victims are invited to enter a decryption key after payment, upon which the bootkit attempts to restore the original files and changes its internal flag to indicate decryption is underway. The program then grants access and returns the authentic bootloaders, bootx64.efi and bootngfw.efi, from backup, ultimately instructing the user to restart their computer. Here's a technical twist that's bound to spark debate. The installer's replacement of the bootloader triggers a system crash, commonly called the blue screen of death, BSOD, which forces the bootkit's malicious binary to take control upon reboot. This is not just sneaky, it's evidence of how attackers are expertly manipulating the boot process to maintain a grip on the system. Some versions of HybridPetya dig even deeper. ESET has linked the malware to the exploitation of CVE 2024-7344, a vulnerability in the Haoya Reloader UEFI app, which the malware disguises as a standard Windows bootloader file. The ransomware plants a custom file named cloak.dat that contains an encrypted version of the bootkit. When reloader.efi, operating as bootmgfw.efi, runs at boot time, it searches for cloak.dat, loads the embedded malicious code without any safety checks, and in the process, completely bypasses secure boot protections. Microsoft has since stepped in to revoke the compromised binaries, but the incident exposes just how fragile these defenses can be. What makes HybridPetya especially controversial is its less destructive stance compared to NotPetya. Rather than irrevocably scrambling data, it retains a mechanism for unlocking files, arguably making it a more traditional ransomware, though no less alarming. Threat actors can reconstruct decryption keys from installation-specific data, which, for some, blurs the line between war crime-level sabotage and criminal extortion. So, is HybridPetya active in real-world attacks? ESET hasn't seen widespread deployment yet. Still, the company highlights intriguing links to a separate UEFI Petya proof of concept created by researcher Alexandra Hasharazad-Donik, raising questions about whether HybridPetya is a weapon in the wild or a demonstration of what's possible. For context, only a handful of such UEFI bootkits exist, such as Black Lotus, targeting CVE 2022-21894, Bootkit exploit logo fail, and a Hyper-V backdoor proof of concept using CVE 2020-26200. ESET warns these incidents prove secure boot bypasses are no longer rare, but are now attractive targets for both cybercriminals and security researchers alike. And this is the part that might divide experts. Does the emergence of tools like HybridPetya signal a new era of firmware-level cybercrime, or are we merely seeing an arms race between defenders and those proving what's technically possible? Should we be more worried about ransomware's adaptability or the vulnerabilities in secure boot mechanisms themselves? Now we want to hear your voice. Do you consider these developments an urgent wake-up call for better UEFI security? Or do you think the threat is overhyped? Has ransomware innovation outpaced our defenses? Or is this just another leak in a never-ending cat and mouse game? Share your thoughts and debate below. Someone's perspective might just shift your own.